Hey Srihitha, how are you today?
Hi Priyesh, I'm doing well. How about you?
I'm doing excellent. Thank you for joining me this evening to discuss your journey for the MBA application with us at LilacBuds. I would like you to start with a brief background about your profile, your work-wise, academically, as well as professionally, and a little bit about your scores as well.
Sure. So just a brief introduction about me. My name is Srihitha, and academically, I come from an unconventional background. I went to fashion school. I went to NIFT in Hyderabad, and post that, I also hold a master's degree from NIFT in Bangalore in fashion management. And my coming to my scores, I hold like a 695 on the GMAT FE. And I've been working for the past 3 years with Landmark Group in retail and e-commerce as a demand planner. So I pivoted from going to fashion school to a very heavily analytical role at work. So I think that was one of the first pivots that I made in my career. And while working, I realized that I do have an aptitude for numbers, and then I was seeking or almost inching to create, like, I think, a broader business impact. And that is when the idea of pursuing an MBA came in. And considering the fact that I already held a master's degree from India, I think the next logical step was for me was to broaden my horizons, and that is when I decided that maybe I would, pivot to pivot geographies as well. So I chose the US, and that is where I think the whole journey began.
Yes, absolutely. And I remember the first conversation that you had with us, right, was about this question in your mind that, coming from a very creative field, how does my profile stand out or stand against some of the people who come from more traditional backgrounds, if I was to call them that, finance, engineering, and so on, in the MBA admissions process. So, talk us about the challenges that you felt in your mind at that point in time when you were out there, seeking help. Why were you seeking help? What was kind of your biggest worry? And how did you come to a decision about working with us?
So I think one of the first and like the biggest challenges for me was that there was almost nothing for me to benchmark, especially with US MBA programs. So I had not seen a profile like me, at least, make it to any of the schools abroad, or at least I did like a thorough research on LinkedIn. I scoured through like pages and pages of profiles to see if I could find somebody from NIFT who went into like an M7 program. And I think when I couldn't find, then I started getting a little worried that maybe this is not how things would pan out for me. So I think that is when I started reaching out to people, and like even started my process of working with consultants. And then I started talking to a few people just to identify that a profile like mine, how much value would I be adding to a cohort at a school, at a US business school, and at the same time also help me understand that where I would stand, because I didn't want to make the mistake of maybe dreaming too big or dreaming too little. Came to school select. That is where I think our conversation also really helped, where you told me that you can always pivot geographies and industries, and that there has to be a very keen focus on, I think, transferable skills. And I think that really helped me reinforce my decision that okay, maybe I am eligible, and I am capable of moving, because it gets very difficult when you don't see somebody like you where you're aspiring to go, which is not the case, I think, for a lot of engineers or people who have been working in the finance or engineering backgrounds, which is the most common typical cookie cutter type profile that I had seen up until then.
Yeah, absolutely right. I think Shrita on point there. And the fact that you mentioned those transferable skills, that is what I think is most important, because the reason why you go to an MBA school is to make a pivot in your career, is to accelerate your growth within the existing roles or within the existing industry that you're a part of. And the skills that you already have are going to be the base from which you're going to springboard, and there are additional skills that you pick up in the business school itself. So with that, like that you decided to work with us, you specifically spent a lot of time working with me. What were the two or three things that you felt were really important that you learned about yourself, about the MBA applications process, or just things that I challenged you on, or that you might have felt were relevant for the admissions perspective?
I think a couple of things that really stood out to me was that I was around two applicants, so which already meant that I was in a time crunch. So I really needed to work with somebody who would, had a quick turnaround time. And I think that worked beautifully, at least here with you and LilacBuds, that almost, I remember it would take less than a day for you to come back with edits and suggestions. And I think that really, really helped. Second of all, I think goal clarity. I think that we spent a lot of time discussing that as well and trying to see what would fit my profile as well as what my aspirations were and how can we link the entire story together. And I think putting that specificity in goal clarity really, really helped. Otherwise, I think I don't think I would have had a successful application season without that. So that these are like a couple of things that really helped for me. Other than that, I think overall, very, very introspective journey. And it really, really challenges you and forces you to think deeper and broader at the same time. And considering US MBA applications, because each school is so tailored and they have their own core values, which they want to see in a particular applicant, there is no way that I could have used one essay for another school, or maybe even used material from one of the essays for another school. Almost each essay required a lot of thought and digging deeper. And I think right before an MBA, going through such a introspective process really helped me. And I think I at least know now when I step into school that what I'm looking for. So yeah.
Good. No, it's really good, because that introspection helps. The whole goal clarity aspect is so critical, because what you put on paper is more likely after a lot of reflection, and that's what a lot of students will continue to aspire for when they go into school. Of course, once you go to B school, you might change your mind, you might meet new people, get new ideas, and even pivot at that point in time. But those things would, the reflections that you've already done make you more confident about going for interviews later when it comes to employment finding again. All right. So with that, Srihitha, time to reveal your admits. But before that, you missed out a critical aspect. What about your GMAT or GRE scores? That's what everybody would like to know. And where did you apply? Where did you get admitted?
Okay, I have a 695 on the GMAT FE, and I applied to 6 schools in the US and ISB. And I applied to Kellogg, Darden, Yale, Emory, Tepper, and Ross. And I applied to ISB, and I had interviewed at 3 schools, and I converted Darden and ISB.
Okay, awesome. So again, the amazing score was definitely an add-on, because you were in already a strong quantitative profile. The quantitative scores were top-notch, and that kind of was reflected in the overall score and helped push that application up a little further as well. Yeah. So the next question from me, Shrita, would be, what is the next tip or advice that you would give to a future applicant who is looking down to go down the same road as you, coming from an unconventional profile or looking for top schools like Darden to start their MBA journeys? What do you feel they should do now so that they are ready for the 2026 intake or beyond?
I think one of the first things, I think it goes without saying that maybe get the scores and transcripts and basics right. And I think post that, when somebody is working on applications, especially considering the whole unconventional academic background, I would say maybe dream bigger than what you're already anticipating, because I think we tend to sell ourselves low. And I think fair at all, because each school is looking for something else. And it's quite important to understand that each school is evaluating the pool of candidates very, very differently. So maybe not sell yourself short, and dream as big as you can. So maybe do apply to all the M7s that you would want to if you're really looking for it. And there'll always be something that you will bring to the table that another candidate would not. And I think that's really important to remember, because for me, I was very skeptical also of the fact that I am at the lower end of WorkX bracket than a typical average student at a school would have. But I think my master's, I recalibrated, and then I realized that my master's degree also adds to my profile, and so does quality WorkX. So maybe not focus a lot on numbers, and focus on the story and what you specifically bring to the table that maybe another candidate would not. And I think that will make like a winning application.
Absolutely. I think we've got a lot of success stories, I would say, for younger applicants with less than 3 years experience, for sure, getting into top schools, and not just you, but a couple of other applicants with lower work have got in because if the story is right, if the transferable skills are well thought through, and of course the fact that you already have a master's adds on to some extent, right? Even though it's not typically work experience, it does count as additional learnings that benefit you. But once again, congratulations on the Darden Admit. Thank you, Srihitha, for trusting us with your profile and helping you through the process. And wonderful again to have this testimonial from you.
Thank you so much, Prash. It was great, honestly great working with you as well. Thank you so much for this entire experience.
All right, welcome. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.